Oh yeah. Yeah, Pinecone's really gonna work.
So the Big Bang contradicts the laws of entropy and conservation.
Except, of course, that it contradicts neither law. Firstly, the Big Bang theory has nothing to say about where the energy for the arisal of the cosmos came from. Says nothing about it. Big Bang theory only describes what happens after the Planck time, which, as I say, is 10 to the power of minus 43 seconds after the beginning of expansion. Now, before that, we don't know what went on. We've got some good ideas. I suspect that your misunderstanding comes from the idea that the universe arose from nothing. Now, this is an idea that does have some merit, especially since, as Hawking showed us, the net energy of the universe is actually zero, because the positive energy in matter is balanced by the negative energy in gravity, giving us a net energy of zero. In any event, we also have some possible mechanisms on the table that explain how that energy was input to the universe in the first place. Guff's cyclical model provides various scenarios that could deal with this, and of course Turek and Steinhardt again provide a mechanism in their brain worlds model for the input of energy to the universe. As for the law of entropy, you seem to have more misunderstanding of this. The law of entropy does state that on average entropy will increase or stay the same. Now, the thing about the early stage of the universe is that it was very, 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 very small, which meant that it didn't take much for entropy to be at maximum. However, as the universe expands, the value of entropy, the maximum value of entropy, increases. In other words, the expansion changes the game. Expansion means that the maximum entropy value can be higher than it was at earlier stages of the universe, because there is more space to distribute and tie up energy. Again though, you really need to go back and look at what entropy really is. It isn't disorder. It's possibly most readily equated with disorder, but to state it as just being disorder is a gross oversimplification. And I know many scientists in popular science books call it disorder, but that's because they're simplifying for the layperson. And of course because cosmologists, unlike evolutionary biologists, aren't used to having their words equivocated by the scientifically illiterate.
It cannot happen because we have already have a basic understanding of the laws of entropy and conservation.
Some of us certainly do. Your statement of the law of conservation was not bad actually, it was fairly close to the mark, and I'll let you have that. But your understanding of entropy is woefully inadequate to the task. And until you understand these principles, you can't hope to debunk something as solid as the Big Bang theory, which, as it happens, is supported by observational evidence. This is an inescapable fact. The other thing is that while you correctly stated the law of conservation, what you didn't do was vaguely understand its implications. And as I say, we have mechanisms for the input of the energy. So as long as we have a mechanism, conservation isn't violated. All we need is energy input. Only your model, as it happens, has an ex nihilo creation, and only in an ex nihilo creation is the law of conservation violated. Sorry, but you really need to go back and work on that again.
Now let's just say that the Big Bang did happen, for example. Just for the sake of argument, let's say that the Big Bang did happen. If the Big Bang happened and it was an expansion, then it created dust and asteroids and rocks. Right? Dust, asteroids and rocks. That's what the Big Bang created.
No. Again, the Big Bang didn't create dust and matter and rocks and asteroids. They came much, much, much later. Initially, there was just a field of plasma. As the cosmos expanded, this plasma cooled in exactly the same way that a can of deodorant cools when you allow gas to escape and it expands inside. And in exactly the same principle that operates your fridge. Now, what happened later, probably in microseconds after the Big Bang, was the first elements started to form in what's a process known as Big Bang nucleosynthesis. And what formed was hydrogen, helium, a little amount of lithium, and trace amounts of beryllium. Now, much later, these trace elements that were spread out through the universe, little inhomogeneities began to appear in them. little pockets where there was slightly more of the atoms than in other areas, and in those areas gravity formed them and they began to coalesce into stars. The heavier elements were formed much later, such as the elements that make up dust and asteroids and rocks. So getting a little bit ahead of yourself there, you might want to think about that.
But the problem with the Big Bang is that how can dust and asteroids and rocks suddenly create all the life that we see today? How can dust and asteroids and rocks create H2O, water? H2O, which is water. How can it create all the chemicals that we see today? For example, carbon dioxide, water, H2O. How can it create that? It is impossible.
It doesn't, as I've just explained. Now, apart from the fact that you've gone from the Big Bang, completely bypassing stellar nucleosynthesis, into the theory of evolution, abiogenesis and evolution, that aside, you have a complete misunderstanding. The heavier elements were formed during the deaths of stars in various stages. Now, there's all sorts of material you can read up about stellar nucleosynthesis and how the elements were created. The rest is simple chemistry. The way that atomic bonds form between atoms of different kinds is well understood chemistry. This is nothing to do with the Big Bang. Should we get back to the topic?
So the only answer is God. God, obviously, as it says in the Bible, says that God created the heavens and the earth. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, God created the heavens and the earth, obviously. So, we already understand what happens. Us Christians, we already understand what happens in the beginning. In the beginning, God created it. Alright, that's a simple...
No, you understand nothing. You accept what people have asserted without any evidence whatsoever in support. In reality, the Genesis story is so far removed from what we observe that that it's frankly ridiculous. As is the existence of your particular magic man. He's contradictory with illogical or absurd attributes. There's not really much escape from that.
True explanation. There's no other answer. Alright? God is the answer.
Ah, right, I see. So if you disprove the scientific answer, then your answer is right by default. This particular logical fallacy is known as the false dichotomy. It could be that neither of our explanations is correct. It could be that one of them is. If one of them is, I suggest that the one that actually matches observational reality is the more likely to be true. Simple as that. So, to sum up, what have we had here? We've had the false conflation of evolution with the Big Bang. We've had a massive statement of the stolen concept fallacy in your attempt to use science to debunk science. Bit of a problem that for you. And we have a crass misunderstanding of what scientific principles are based on and how they operate. You don't understand what a theory is, you don't understand what a law is, you don't understand what a fact is, you don't understand anything about the Big Bang, you don't understand anything about evolution, you don't understand anything about nuclear synthesis, you don't understand anything about anything, frankly, and I think really that just about covers it. Well, it's been fun kicking holes in your arguments, if such they were. Not really much of an argument. Perhaps go and pick up a science book and learn some things. Go and learn about entropy. Go and learn about thermodynamics. Go and learn about what the Big Bang Theory actually postulates and what the various models are for the instantiation of the cosmos. Go and learn some things. Trust me, your brain will thank me for it.